Well, first of all, it's such an honor to be talking to you about to work for decades, and I'd like to thank you for all your contributions and good stuff. Thank you. Vandana Shiva from conference following about the sense of teaching and diversity from the community. Why do you think that's kind of easy peace started with this stuff?
Mexico's a peace struggle because it's really a center of diversity. Man is a center of the consciousness of. It holds the history of colonization. It holds the memory of being able to rise for independence abroad and so both being custodians of the richness of cultural and biological diversity and the need for a new kind of leadership in a period where globalization and neoliberal corporate rule, which puts profits in trade and corporations above everything else. The earth can go, farmers can disappear, people's health can be destroyed, and democracy can go. At that point, Mexico is in a unique position of not just protecting its biodiversity and its sovereignty, but through both its domestic laws and its international participation, seeing as the health of our people comes first, not the profits of your corporations. You cannot just say a GMO is a superior technology, but it's inferior food. It's bad for the health of the planet and us. And we will do the real science. And our science is with the peasants who have evolved all this diversity of food, of corn, over millennia. So it's really, what I witnessed today is a clash of civilizations. A civilization that believes in violence, profits, appropriation, extraction, and poisoning. And another civilization that sees itself as an ecological civilization of peace with the earth, enriching the diversity of the planet, reinforcing the earth systems, her ecological laws, and learning from the peasants who've done that for millennia. And listening to them and learning from them and standing in defense for them and connecting the earth, the producers of food, and the eaters of food, which is all of us. And in a way, this is an entirely new kind of challenge in a period where there was supposed to be no sovereign countries. After all, because I was part of the International Forum on Globalization, and the World Economic Forum has said, with this WTO now, this is the global constitution, there will be no nations anymore. And to defend the sovereignty of the seed, the sovereignty of the farmer seed sovereignty, to defend the sovereignty of Mexico, with its biodiversity, which is written into law with the Convention on Biological Diversity, and to help us remember, is to help us remember the best of our humanity, and the best we can do as part of nature.
Well, that's a huge responsibility, but of course it has the backing of this enormous global movement. You're a leading ecofeminist. How do you see food sovereignty as a feminist issue?
Capitalist patriarchy basically started to appropriate the land, appropriate the seeds, appropriate the food, put poisons in the place of nature's symbiotic laws, of the nitrogen being fixed in the milpa system by the beans and feeding the corn, and the corn feeding the energy, protein. With globalization, the knowledge of the women that had been marginalized is coming center stage, because this is the alternative. The men are spraying poisons in their fields. They're going into the United States and becoming new serfs on these giant farms spraying pests. I've been in the farms in California, and you see these little containers, the Mexicans living there, to live in poison. And women have always had to stay home, take care of Mother Earth, which is a home, take care of the economy, which is care for that home. And for so many years, I've done so many reports and realized that farming with biodiversity is women's knowledge. They're holders of the milpa system. They're the holders of peace. Most production of the world takes now, with women farmers because they're the ones left behind. Even in India, the men have migrated to the cities to do menial jobs. And the women are still in the fields, up in the high India. I think the most powerful part of it is the mechanical thinking is a militarized mind, which makes us see the world as enemy. The pest is an enemy, spray pesticides. The plant is an enemy, spray glyphosate. Everyone is an enemy. And the women continue to have a friendly relationship with other species. And they work with other species. And my books have shown that women hold the biodiversity of knowledge. And in biodiversity, they're producing more food. So they are the food security keepers of the world. 70% of the food in the world today comes from small gardens and small, not from the giant farms. Giant farms produce commodities for trade, biofuel for running cars, animal feed for torturing animals in factory farms, and the remaining you process into ultra-processed food to make people sick. That's not a food system. So women are holders of the real food system because they care. They care for the earth, they care for the children. A mother will not deliberately poison a child. In India, our movement is the women who catch on with what the loss of seed means. They catch on with what the loss of their food cultures mean. So because their mind is not being destroyed by the militarized, mechanistic monoculture of the mind. Their mind is still a biodiversity mind. Because women, as we know, are multitasking. But they're not just multitasking, they're multi-relating. They're multi-relating to the corn and the bean, multi-relating to the elders in their home and the little children. They're relating all the time to the soil on the one hand and the market on the other. And this diversity of mind is what women hold, which has been called unscientific. But the future science is a science of biodiversity of the mind. It will not be a mechanistic science. It will be a science of living systems in diversity.
That's tremendously powerful in the future science to think about that as well. We've talked about why women are central to this regeneration, to this new future. What about the global majority, Black and Indigenous peoples?
Yeah, so the Indigenous people and women actually create a very similar community. They were marginalized. Capitalist patriarchy said to the Indigenous people, you are primitive. You have to be civilized. To be civilized, you have to be killed. 90% of you have to be in extinct. And capitalist patriarchy also basically declared that women don't have knowledge, and if they do, they are witches. 9 million women were killed in Europe during the witch hunts. So they share not just the same violence of colonialism, they share the same potential of regeneration. The same systems of knowledge, the similar way of relating to other species in the world, the same economies of care rather than economies of violence. Indigenous people, women share it. And the Black people are Indigenous people of Africa. But they've been made, the colonized people of America, to pick cotton in a land that didn't grow cotton, to ship it to England that didn't make cotton fabric. We made the best cotton fabrics in the third one. The best designs, the best weave. I mean, this is brilliance on the loom. Every little pattern is in the mind of the weaver. So a continent was taken. Africans were caught as slaves for the industrial age to be supported. The factories would have been sitting still without the work of the slaves, without displacing the indigenous people of America, and without destroying the Indian fabrics. We cut the thumbs of our people to say you will not weave. You will have to use our third-rate factory textiles. And when the corporations started to own the seed, because seed is the first means of production. You grow a seed into the food. It's the base of your economy. I said, prohibiting farmers from seed saving because of battles is like cutting the thumbs of the Indian weavers. It's a new colonialism, a new slave system. And so we have to learn from all of this. And the most important part is the dominant system is very cleverly divided. Because in diversity, they can only rule through divide and rule. Mm-hmm. And so they create all these silos of separation. But we are one humanity, on one planet, interconnected through the living systems that give us the same blood, the same breath. So we must remember that we are earth beings, and our liberations, in spite of different colonialisms, come from a common liberation for the earth, all our biodiversity, and all our cultures.
Vandana Shiva, I can't thank you enough for this time. God bless you.